I think we can start. Bill's always a little late. He doesn't mind if we start without him. If he would, he wouldn't still be on the Planning Commission for all these years. Okay.
We're all set here.
Okay. Just see. Okay. You guys ready to go? Okay, I'm going to start. Welcome to the September 1st meeting of the Bristol Planning Commission, September 1st, 2020. And tonight, let's see, I don't have any changes to the agenda. Does anybody else have any changes? Oops. Nope. I just noticed on my agenda that we're approving the minutes for August 118. It was a long month. I actually did make some adjustments to those minutes, Bill.
I sent them out.
Right. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion for minutes from August 18th?
I make a motion the minutes for August 18th be approved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Tom, second.
And just to be clear, that is the second set of minutes that was sent out by Bill. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Or any discussion? Excuse me. Any discussion? All in favor to approve the minutes of August 18th? Okay, minutes are approved. Administrative matters. I don't have any administrative matters unless the only thing would be to kind of go over the schedule again if anybody wants, or the timeline, let's put it that way, the timeline for the plan. I'm not really sure if that's administrative matters or not, but do you have anything, Chris? I mean, we can talk about that when we get to the plan. Okay, then new businesses to continue where we left off with the implementation. We had some more implementation actions that we were reviewing. Thank you, everybody who reviewed the plan and sent in comments to Andrew. Did you share what you showed me today with everybody, or are you going to share that tonight?
I was going to put it on the screen.
Okay.
Go
Andrew took all those comments and organized them. It seemed like most of them were, wording, spelling, take things out, doesn't look appropriate here, nothing really huge. But tonight is, it would be nice to be able to move forward and actually set a date for a public hearing. Just again, that doesn't mean that we can't make any more of those kind of changes between now and that date. We don't have to approve the plan tonight. We just need to set a date for a public hearing, and we can get comments and then approve it if we're ready to that night. But it starts that ball rolling. But tonight would be the night if we do have bigger issues that need to get resolved. Tonight is the night to discuss them. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Andrew, unless anyone else has anything to say about that. Seeing none. Andrew.
Great. Thanks for your comments. I spent a fair amount of today adding them all to the document. Like Katie said, it was mostly minor stuff, but I noted some of the bigger questions so we can make sure to go through and fix those. But I figured we would start on the implementation section since we have almost, and we can knock that out and then kind of revisit some of the things that folks pointed out. So if that works for folks, then we'll get started and hopefully we can wrap up in fairly reasonable time. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And, oh, you guys all disappeared.
Should be on the side. No?
I guess if you can see my screen, I don't really need to see you.
Thanks.
Well, weirdly, yeah, I can't see you at all. So if, I guess if you want me to stop, shout or type in the chat because I can't see you raise your hand or anything. So let's see. So there was a comment, somebody pointed out that in flood resilience, we still had these 3 highlighted in yellow. Those were the ones, when I stuck it in the Word document, those are the ones that we were still waiting for an answer from Valerie about, and have not gotten an answer about whether those, Katie, unless you heard from her.
No, she told me she was going to look at them today, but she had a lot going on.
Yeah, I know she was away for a while and I don't see anything.
Uh-oh.
Email. Oh. What's uh-oh?
Well, I just saw your screen, like your background for a minute.
No, okay. So I guess we'll just plan to remove those unless we hear otherwise from Valerie, if that works. And then Rob had a couple of comments that I'm going to come back to once we get through the land use and planning, because he had a couple other suggestions for a couple of things. So land use and planning, the yellow highlighted ones are all carried over and were ones that we had looked at and assumed would be okay to remove, but obviously we need to talk through them. So the first is develop new regulations for extraction, which would include prohibiting commercial extraction throughout the village planning area. I don't know if we need new regulations, if we already have existing ones.
Nope.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you don't need them. I mean, that was addressed. They're in the current zoning regs and the upcoming unified doc as well. So we're good.
Okay. We'll see if I can just cross it out somehow here. All right. Review all existing zones and conform zoning changes to the adopted town plan. I think we've pretty much written the town plan, keeping existing zones.
We did that when we updated the zoning regs.
It is a little bit iterative, but
What, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, this is a new town plan with a lot of changes to it. So, I mean, this is a great, under land use and planning, this is a great task. And it should be something that should, I mean, you can push it out more than a year.
right, it's a pretty short time to look back at it again.
We could say continue to review all, continually review existing zones, to reflect updated 10 plans or updated 10 plan, something like that. Or we just leave it the way it is. What do people think?
Andrew, what page are you on? So I can get
11.
a hard copy.
It's the last page before the appendices. It's 108 in mine, but I was tweaking the formatting today, so
Mine's 111.
105 on mine.
there when it went out, at least some of the ones that came back, I think mine was actually okay. Some of the tables and graphs and things were kind of screwy. So I'm trying to compress things and get them a little more, I would like to get it less than 100 pages, but this isn't the final formatting by any means. So yeah, somewhere in the 105 to 111 range, but it's the last page before the appendix.
See, all that fluff adds up.
All the fluff. Yeah, that was because I took out all the extra words that Rob told me about. Okay, so review, I'm hearing review all existing zones, maybe continue to review existing zones.
I think leave it as it is.
I agree. And I don't know, Chris, you suggested moving it out, the time frame out, or not?
I would, because, I mean, a year is pretty aggressive to, I don't know, if you put 3 years on it, that would give you a lot of time to make sure, especially we're just rolling out some new regs, and then it would allow you to spend 3 years updating the current regulations to mate the town plan. And then you could roll those out in like 3 years to the public for a new vote. That would be a pretty ambitious goal, because I remember going through these last time. It takes forever.
We could say ongoing.
Well, the problem with ongoing is the plan is this, I understand this to be specific based on a new plan, so.
The adopted new town plan.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm the only one that sees it that way or not.
Well, we could have to, just for example, I mean, town plans are always getting updated. If something comes through that we need to add, maybe it's something a lot simpler than what we did this time. This was a big update. So you don't know. It seems that you might just want to have it sort of open-ended time-wise, but.
Well, because it's not on there doesn't mean you can't do it. Right? If you have changes later. This doesn't say what you can't do. It's just saying things you're planning to do right now.
Right.
So
These are more like guidelines.
Yeah.
That's my view on it, is that it says to changes to the adopted plan, and we're still working through this, even though we've already rolled out the UDR. So just to make sure that everything lines up.
That's fine.
All right. Explore locations for possible light industry development. That's something you guys feel the need to revisit or are okay with?
Didn't we already do that with Stony Hill?
Yes.
Options explored. Mischief managed.
It needs to get filled up.
Yeah. So consider the establishment of fluvial erosion hazard areas. I believe there already is a fluvial erosion hazard area, which is the FEMA flood zone. We can talk about later if river corridor areas should be considered. But this one I think is already part of zoning.
Personally, that sounds like a good thing to cross out.
Agree.
All right. Hey, back to the topic that we kicked it off with. Consider a right to farm ordinance. Does such an ordinance already exist, or do we need to consider it?
No such ordinance exists. The fact that we added the accessory farm use, or I think that's what we called it in the UPD, that helps add yet another layer of protection, I believe. And I don't think we need this anymore.
Anyone?
Yeah,
So it's 5 out.
remove it.
Okay, number 6. Determine if geomorphic mapping indicates that there are environmentally sensitive areas that should be added to the conservation zone or protected by some other method. I think there's already some language in natural resources about protection by purchase. The geomorphic mapping, I assume, is talking about river corridors and those areas, which I think we already kind of covered in the flood resilience section. Any objections to crossing it out?
Take it out.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, I like this. Yeah, if you want to just check.
Item number 2, is that in or out?
2 we're leaving in, but changing it to a 3-year
Got it.
timeline
Okay, thank you.
for your bingo cards at home.
Thank you very much.
All right. So ones that we still have. So this one I think was moved down as an adjusted version of the fluvial erosion hazard areas. So consider the establishment of river corridor areas. So that would be what we talked about last time, the area that is along the river channel. So again, think about the FEMA flood zones are basically the bathtub that can fill up. The river corridor is the erosive channel. Whether this is something, so we mentioned this, I believe, in the flood resilience section, but we say that it's not binding to the town unless they decide to take further action. Do you want to consider taking further action on river corridor areas?
If you leave this in, don't you remove the other one where it says the one in the flood area?
Yeah, I thought we had a long conversation about that right here.
Oh, yep.
Is it the same?
Did we complete that conversation?
We did, actually, with Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we may have moved it down from flood resilience to land use, but it could potentially go back into the flood resilience section. So this one is river corridor conservation and protection measures, which I think is slightly different. Although measures could certainly
We did
include-
have a long conversation about that and looked at the map and talked with Kristen, and he actually agreed to put consider down.
Bill's here, by the way. I let him in.
Oh, is he in?
He is,
I'm
but I always like to hear your opinion on
talking
it.
about, yeah. I didn't say anything bad.
I know. That's the best. It shows what a kind person you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did have a long conversation, and we I believe reached some understandings as to what the corridor was. It is more or less, I mean, what's the name for it? The one, right? The erosion zone,
Right.
whatever the name for the erosion zone is, that was unchangeable. That did not move around with the river.
Correct.
And that was very important understanding to reach, because we do have one building through which that's in that zone, but it's built on poles largely, not entirely, but largely, so that if there ever is a flood, the water will just flow right through it. And many of our other buildings have similar constructions to facilitate the flow of the water and or mitigate the damage by putting the electrical equipment on the second floor, for example. So
Do I understand this, is the understanding is just the location of this phrase?
Seems like it.
I believe we're discussing that this in land use. Is it saying the same thing? Do we need to have it in both places? That's the question right now.
Yeah, and if you have it in both places, it really needs to say the same thing.
Right. It doesn't seem like we would need it in both places, is my opinion.
I agree.
Seems redundant.
I agree too.
All right.
So
like
where
it.
do we put it?
It's
I think-
Well, so I think what they're saying is that because we already have a consider river corridor conservation and protection measures that would in the flood resilience section. So I'll scroll up a little bit. So this last one in flood resilience, that would basically encompass it, and we wouldn't need to have a separate one for river corridor areas specifically in the land use section.
Agree.
Yeah.
And I will add lines, but that is left to the Planning Commission, Conservation Commission, and Select Board. So you guys are still involved. All right, so these, I believe, kind of follow along with the three different areas within the land use section. So, and in terms of actions, these are suggestions. So promote existing incentives and programs to encourage business and light industry investment and growth. Actually, why don't I was going to say I could pull up the goals and policies, but that might be challenging to do at the same time since it's in the same document.
My only 2 cents on that is to eliminate the word existing. Because that sort of sounds like you only want to promote what's there today and not future. So if you just do promote incentives and programs, that's a lot more all-encompassing.
Yeah, agreed.
The major question I think would be whose charge would that be?
That seems like it might be select board. Or
Yeah, select board, town administrator really take those two folks take that role on usually.
Now it would presumably be kind of an ongoing. All right, folks okay with that one?
Yep.
Okay, next would be conduct planning studies, inventory, and mapping to encourage infill development of a variety of housing types to meet housing needs. That, if it was done, would I think be you guys, just because it has planning in it.
Right.
Any objections?
Ongoing.
I think we made it, this was the result of a compromise.
Right.
And I think everybody knows the difference of opinion we have. I'm strongly in favor of maintaining the character of the village as it is, and believe if we introduce too many multi-family units beyond what we already have, it will change in ways that we will not recognize and not like. But this was a compromise we reached after some discussion a few weeks ago.
Do we want to set a timeline on planning studies?
Ongoing.
Going.
Fine with me.
I have a question here because
Yeah.
I've had a lot of discussions about this. It's related, and it relates to what Bill is saying also, because anecdotally, a lot of houses are being bought by out-of-staters who are using them for large portions, anecdotally again, of the year as Airbnbs. It's already changing the nature of some. And I wonder, does the town have any way of knowing how many units, how many houses are being used in this way? And if so, if it doesn't, wouldn't it be good to find out? Because that's change the nature of the town, could change it quite drastically. It's done it in many other places.
Yeah, we do get some numbers from the state of Vermont as far as from room and meals tax and those that are registered. But that doesn't mean they're all registered.
Right.
The other thing, and it's on the agenda for after all of this, is that for the next round of zoning modifications is actually to discuss short-term rentals. Because as it stands now, if you don't define it or have any regulation against it, a rental is a rental is a rental, whether it's a short-term, long-term, or lifetime. They don't care. That's the Supreme Court ruling. So if you all put some verbiage in the zoning regulations to either limit or maintain or control where and when and how often it occurs. A great example, I think it was Woodstock has a section where 10 months out of the year, you can Airbnb out like once a month, but during leaf peeping season, which is their high season, it's unlimited. So you could be very creative with it, but I think getting a handle on it, if not, it's just a housing unit.
Yeah, that's why I think, I'm not suggesting zoning regulations now, but just some information, because as I said, anecdotally, a lot of people are talking about this, not just in Bristol, but all over. But I do know of some things that have happened here, but I don't know if that's 5 houses or 20 houses or 50 houses. I have no idea. So as part of this study, do we add something to?
I think that would be good. I think,
I'm not sure what the language should be, but something about, determine how many houses are being converted to short-term rentals, Airbnbs, or something like that.
I thought you actually got a number, didn't you, Andrew? At one point. You do.
I just went to Airbnb.com.
Oh.
I was doing the same thing.
Here's Bristol. Everywhere.
Wow. You can stay in a yurt.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are available right now, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
People can open and close them as they want.
There's a lot of talk about this in the planning world, and there are communities in Vermont that definitely have a big problem with this, because it does eliminate other, availability for people who are year-round residents.
It also,
Bristol doesn't seem to have that issue right now. That's the general feeling. But it's definitely on, it's on the radar of planners and regulations. So it's definitely a thing to watch.
yeah, because I read that in some areas of, now this is going far afield, not Vermont, some areas of Barcelona, 20% of the apartments are Airbnbs. And residents are saying our neighborhood has disappeared because every 2 days there's somebody new.
Yeah.
I think it would just be good to have some knowledge of it. So we could add a sentence there, something about, determine the number of houses being converted to short-term rentals, something like that. I don't have exact language.
Yeah, I mean,
I think,
go ahead.
sorry, I think if we start adding too much of that stuff into this, it needs to get moved out of land use and into a different subsection.
Yeah, I think there is a housing. I mean, we have a housing section, but
No.
I mean, I guess if it was a planning study and inventory, it should. But you guys are the ones that'll be doing it, so.
Right. So, I mean, my suggestion would be to add it to the housing and to do something along the lines of conduct study to review the impacts that short-term rentals have on the current housing stock in the community.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's already a housing study here.
Yeah.
I think we add it to that.
Yeah.
Chris, can you repeat that again?
Conduct the housing study to review the impacts of short-term rentals on the current housing stock.
That going back to the beginning. Does that seem okay for folks to add that? That's still your purview, and 3 years, and I think we can actually take out the housing study from down below because it may be duplicative.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Let me ask a question there. It doesn't apply any particular restrictions, right?
No. Just
So I guess-
information gathering.
So I guess the other thing is there something in the document or the text that talks about this so it becomes part of an action?
As far as I know, there's nothing in the housing section about short-term rentals. Mostly because we don't know a whole lot about the status of it, which is why we need a study.
I mean, I think, yeah.
I think it's because of the impacts on the current housing stock, it still falls within what the everything talks about in that section.
Yeah, the rental availability and prices and
Okay.
we'll take out. This one. Review development of new or modification of existing buildings and sites in the design review district to maintain the design character consistent with the historic mix of commercial and residential buildings in the design review district. I think I can take out in the design review district a couple times.
I'm a little confused on that because don't we already have a function that does that through
Yeah.
a board?
I wouldn't think we would need to list that because that's our,
That's what they
that
do.
is a job of right now, the planning commission.
Yeah, and the Downtown Review Commission.
Okay. So since that's literally their job description, we don't need to have that reiterated, that that's their job. All right, we're going to end up with two or three actions unless folks come up with some other ones.
Why?
That's good. There's only 2 goals.
And this one I think is also pretty similar to one that was already listed about identify and develop one or more areas where light industry can be appropriately located within the village planning area. That may already be the Stony Hill. So if that's already been identified for light industry.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's Stony Hill and basically the entire C1 district. So yeah, it's pretty redundant and it's already completed.
Hey, Rob, if you're looking at the goals and policies,
Yes.
are there ones we have not addressed with actions?
Yeah, there's actually 5 goals. I misspoke.
5.
Yep. Let's see. So Bristol will plan and manage land development in a manner that takes into account the important cultural and natural resources of the community. Oh, you got them there.
I'll get to them, but if you don't mind reading them, that'd be great.
Okay. Bristol will maintain and enhance a village planning area defined by the historic village settlement, the commercial and social center of the town, comprised of high-density residential, business, light industry, municipal services surrounded by rural countryside. There you go.
What page you on, Rob?
97 and 98
Thank you.
in the one that was mailed out.
Okay.
So I'll read through the rest of these quickly, but if you guys think of other actions, we should maybe have at least 3, but 2 is probably fine. Bristol will maintain and enhance a rural planning area primarily for agricultural, industrial, and renewable energy production along with moderate density residential development. Bristol will maintain and enhance its conservation planning area primarily for environmental conservation, forestry, recreation, and low density residential development. And then the last one is the process one. So land use planning will be made through a process that is fair, transparent, and maintains a reasonable balance between community imposed limitations on land use and the rights of individual landowners. So just as a recap, because at the moment we basically have review zoning changes and promote incentives, I think are our two actions. So
The only other thing I would say you might want to address here is possibly the density issue. 'Cause that seems to be a highlight throughout that section.
yeah, we did, I guess when we took out this, we took out the infill development phrase. Are there any
Well,
specific actions that the planning commission could take?
Well, that ties into the whole housing study plan, you know, growth study.
Are there any other kinds of growth studies that the planning commission should be working on besides housing? Or is
Sounds
that the
like
kind of
we're
thing
all
I'm
track
supposed to
here.
tell you?
Perfect town.
It smells good too. All right, then I think we are done with the land use section. I had a couple comments from Rob. So I can get to them. That there were a couple that seemed either out of place or like they weren't backed up in the policies. So I think the first one was in recreation and healthy living. Number 2, so planning and construction of walking and biking trails throughout Bristol. Rob, I think you said that that one didn't line up with the policies in the recreation section.
I was just trying to pull that up myself, my comments there. 'Cause it's in a document, not in front of me, so.
Doesn't have a, it's like not a full sentence.
That is also true. Guess it would be when
All right, so. That was recreation. So. Yeah, it just seemed like it was out of place with the rest of that, the goals and policies, that nothing linked it back into that. So that was my concern, having an action that's outside of the goals and policies that we do have there.
and I think there was a related question in the natural resource section about trails as well, about biking and hiking trails.
Yes.
So working with adjacent towns to develop low environmental impact biking and hiking trails. So in some ways, it might make sense to actually remove the one from the recreation healthy living.
Mhm.
If that doesn't match up, but keep this one, because I think the emphasis is on the low impact trails, and having
Right. My other concern was the phrasing of the planning and construction.
okay, yeah. Well, since it was badly phrased and doesn't match up, that seems like a pretty good argument for removing it.
Was that a carryover from before? No.
I don't remember. I don't think so, because I have it in red. Also kind of encompassed by the existing public facilities and outdoor spaces. Okay, hearing no objections. I'm gonna remove that
Drew,
one.
I've been thinking about it. And reflecting our earlier discussion on trails, I think we should add the phrase with landowner permission. Because, okay, you know why.
Well, it does say willing landowners.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, I missed that. I guess I was looking at the other one.
Yeah, so I think this one has some detail that we work through, and the other one that we're going to remove is a little more simple and not well worded. So if this one makes more sense in the natural resource section anyway, I think stick with this one.
Yep, it's better worded.
And then
It should be. We spent a lot of time reaching a compromise.
And then
Very
the
well
last,
worded.
the last one I think, Rob, you pointed out was this coordinate further public transportation options with surrounding towns. Didn't match up with the policy. Or
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the goals or the policies that tied that back in again. That's all.
So it does seem like a good
Seems like a good idea, though.
coordinating.
I think there's a policy talking about actor. That's not adjacent town. That's public transportation systems.
Does somebody have the goals or policies open for transportation or in front of them?
Looking.
Yeah, I just pulled them up. So I guess you could say it falls under reduced single occupancy vehicle use. That's one of the
Yeah.
goals.
I think it was originally just a public transportation, and it may actually belong as a policy rather than an action. Coordinate is pretty vague.
Yeah.
Do we have very much Uber or Lyft in Addison County, including Bristol?
There was one guy in Middlebury, but I don't think he does it anymore.
He's now in the hospital with the virus.
I hope not.
Well,
I don't think there's much.
it's not enough density probably, but it would be a 2-person occupancy.
Yeah, depends who you're with.
Might
Could
be
be
more.
a big truck.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make myself a note to move this to the policies rather than an action, since it's not very specific. Okay, does anybody have other questions or things they want to address in this implementation action section?
So,
I think those were the only comments I saw from people. All right.
What's the next step?
So there's a couple other things that folks noted, and there's a couple policies that the Conservation Commission suggested for the natural resource section, and I think basically the last things, unless there are other things folks want to bring up or talk about. But we should hit the policies, and then Kevin had some other questions about policies that we should also address. And those are really the only major things that I think are left. Let's see if I can get to it. So in the natural resource section, we didn't get to this last time. Under the goals and policies. So this under goal number 4 and goal number 5, there were no policies previously. The Conservation Commission recommended moving this one, I believe, was under goal number 1. And they pointed out that it didn't actually make sense there because it's about water. And then they suggested the second one, support the activities of public and private organizations to monitor water quality in the town's surface waters and groundwater to ensure protection of public health and support diverse native ecosystems. So that would primarily be Addison County Riverwatch, which is already doing that monitoring.
Give me a page number, will you? I got it, wait a minute.
I've got 84, but
Around 84. And this was in the document I sent out because they suggested it before the last meeting. We just didn't get to it.
Page 80, Bill.
80, thank you. Got it, thank you.
I have so many more pages.
There was some weird spacing going on, especially in the housing section and with the graphs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's that fluff.
Katie wrote that section, so that's not my fault.
You did the graphs.
Oh. All right. Any objections to supporting water quality monitoring as a policy?
Just trying to figure out how it supports diverse native ecosystems, but maybe I don't need to know.
Because healthy streams.
But they're just monitoring. They're not doing anything.
Right. They're just monitoring it. That is true. They're recording. It's inventory.
Yeah. So
We don't
could
have
take
to
out-
have the second part of that sentence there.
I'm not. I get what they're saying, but it just strikes me as. I mean, they're trying to make sure that, not only public health, which is pretty much humid, that, river life, if you will, is
Yeah, I think
understood. The impact of river life, but diverse native ecosystems is just,
Too many words?
well, it's just about the $100 word phrase there.
would the environment be a
That's better.
basically people and everything that's not people?
Maybe public health and the ecosystem or something to that effect.
Yeah, just ecosystem would be.
Sure.
Done. Ecosystems. All right. And then under goal number 5, they suggested as a policy. Oh, sorry. Was there a comment? No. Okay. Support the efforts of the Bristol Conservation Commission and other town committees, including the ongoing management of town properties and low environmental impact trails to access natural resources.
It's benign.
Got a lot of mixed messages. Conservation Commission, then town committees. Why can't we just stick with the Conservation Commission?
There might be some other town committees. I don't know. They wrote that, right?
They wrote it. I think they were trying to make it not just about themselves. It does.
It could be a volunteer group.
All right, let it go.
Is there a tree commission or a tree committee?
Yeah, they're working on forming one. I mean, you could almost get rid of the second half of that sentence, and I mean, for your policy, it's really support the efforts of the Bristol Conservation Commission and other town committees.
We'll stop.
period.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
Good.
Yeah, like diverse native ecosystems. It's in our goal. It's a good thing we took it out.
It's
With the
the
policy.
Diverse
But
Native Ecosystem Committee.
I think it was, I think that policy, it was about town properties, and you took that part off. No, I don't.
Well, yeah. The
The statement about the town properties seemed like it was additional and not necessary for that. It was including the ongoing management of town properties and low environmental impact trails to access natural resources.
yeah.
Seems like a lot of extra.
This goal is supposed to be about education and community awareness. So I'm not sure that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was just looking at that with the added goal. I mean, it should almost be support the
School system? No.
or the outreach efforts of the Bristol Conservation Commission and other town committees.
Right.
So it really mates with the goal, because right now it just sounds like, oh, we're back in the Conservation Committee and whatever. So
Right. I like adding outreach. Folks okay with that?
Okay.
Okay. Folks,
Because basically we're supporting their work,
well,
not just them.
their outreach effort work.
Right.
Yes. I don't know. Are there non-town committees doing environmental education and awareness?
Well, the Sierra Club, you know.
Thanks, Bill.
Extinction Rebellion.
yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, you run into things. I mean, like the high school's environmental group does a lot of outreach stuff that that involved in the town in the last probably 24 months. So yeah, maybe in the other town, I don't know the right verbiage, but
Organizations or
that's what I was leading towards.
entities, groups. Somehow the local, based in Bristol groups.
Yeah, it's almost like the Bristol Conservation Commission and other local.
You could say town and volunteer groups.
And volunteer groups, okay?
Yeah.
My brother, who's a forester, is getting sued by the Center for Biological Diversity, which sounds like a very fun organization.
Wow.
Yes. Well, his stock just went up in my book.
Yeah.
They're a very intense anti-management group.
He's doing some outreach and awareness education, I believe.
Good.
No one's supporting him.
So the other one, Andrew, just on that same line.
Yep.
You had other town and I would say local volunteer groups. Just because again, I don't think we want to support the whatever group it is out there.
Yeah, we won't name any specific ones. Okay, folks on board with. All right, it's 8 o'clock. We've got a few miscellaneous things to do, but we're closing in. So I think those are all the goals and policies under natural resources. And if you give me a second to navigate, Kevin, you had a comment about feasibility.
Yeah, there is, I can't remember the page.
I've got 48 in my document.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Utilities, goals and policies.
There's a comment about putting stuff underground where feasible. You could construe all of it's feasible. And somewhere else, we went through this discussion and we ended up taking into account cost, the factor of cost to put it underground. Might have been in some of
I
the.
think it might have, yeah, the energy section.
Enhanced energy plan.
Somebody give me a page number.
48.
Somewhere around 48 or 49.
Okay.
Goals and policies of the utilities section.
So my comment is to make this like the other one we worked through in the energy
I
section.
don't think it was in the energy section. I think it was in the, not in the plan, it was in the UDR.
Yeah. you're
Oh,
right.
is that where it was?
Yeah,
It was in the subdivision regulations.
right. That's right.
Yep.
I remember that.
I think we said something like, when not economically onerous or something. I'd have to look for. We had something which said, it was about taking into account the economic impact. Yes.
How about, Jeff, when economically practical?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. That would be fine. That was the thrust of what we did. I don't think that's the exact words, but doesn't matter that much.
Right. I think it had something to do with without undue economic impact or something.
Yeah, or undue economic burden, something like that. But
Yeah.
that's fine. Economically practical is fine.
Okay. Then, other than the sort of small changes that folks suggested, I went through and made those changes, and we can send out this document again. But as far as I could tell, it was all small things in terms of corrections.
There was a couple, oh, go ahead.
Can we add the communications union district? Because I think that's a big deal for
The one that was just
increased
approved.
bandwidth. I don't know where to put it in the document under utilities or something, but that is a big deal.
Broadband, do we talk about broadband? We must in utilities. Or do we talk about it in, no, we wouldn't talk about it in energy. We don't.
We do in I think it's the economic development. Talk about.
So, yeah, I was going to say under the COVID section, go ahead.
So get at it there, or if it makes more sense in utilities, we could also do it. I think this is the economic development section. Bill, you said that was just approved, like?
It was approved a week ago yesterday by the select board.
That Bristol is going to be part of,
Bristol's going to be part of a 5-town consortium
right.
that's being actually led by Adam.
Yep, he just didn't inform me that Bristol had joined, because I don't think I've seen him in a week.
Yeah.
Okay, I can add that there, and potentially utilities, but I don't think that's a major change if we just say that we joined.
Does that necessarily need to be under impacts of COVID? It's really, I mean,
No, it really doesn't. I mean, COVID exacerbated the problem.
right, but it's a good thing.
Right.
I mean, it's
We also mentioned it under the high-speed internet under a policy in education, but it does seem like more of a utility function.
right.
Yeah, just put it in there someplace, wherever you think is appropriate.
I need more direction than that, Bill.
I think it's a,
Wherever Kevin thinks it's appropriate.
Right. Oh, thanks. But I think it is important to have it in utilities because it deserves more than just a passing
Right.
phrase in schools or COVID or whatever.
Yeah, it should have its own little paragraph under utilities.
All right.
Maybe we should just, I mean, we don't necessarily need to write it right now as a group, but maybe
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
we add something on there and we can share it with everybody.
On this, we won't make any policy directives, but just to basically describe that Bristol is part of it.
I sent that little note to you, right? Just
Yep.
go off of that kind of.
Yeah, we have that information because Adam has been talking about
yeah,
it. Just got a big grant.
Yeah. Is there documentation? Has that been reported somewhere?
What?
Would it be on the town website?
Are you asking?
Just as a description of.
Right, it was approved at the last, I don't know how much was, did Adam present it, Bill?
Adam presented it.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I left that meeting.
One of the
Probably in
one
minutes.
of the select board members is now the
Ian
Community Union District representative for Bristol.
is.
Yeah, and the other comment that came up, I think a couple of folks, I think both Bill and Kevin maybe suggested looking at the Mount Abe Unified School District and updating the numbers from the strategic plan that they just released.
Yes.
A population, student numbers.
I think one of you guys said that.
Yeah, Mount Abe or the Unified District just did had an independent consultant look at student populations and housing, and there's a pretty detailed chart. It goes back 10 years or 20 years and looks forward 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, that may be more.
We can
detailed.
just take this one out and put that one in. Or make our own one based on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could one of you send me that, or is it on the MAUSD website? Do you know?
I don't think it's on the website yet, but I can arrange to get it sent to you.
Okay. All right. I think.
Andrew,
go ahead.
in the chat, I don't know if you can get to your chat since you can't see us, but I copy and pasted the
I
wording
can now
out
see
of-
you, but I can see you, but not the chat.
Okay.
Uh,
So it was the wording from the UDR of the economically unreasonable for underground stuff.
Okay. Well, seem to have somehow closed my chat, but I'll find it and find you.
Kevin, on those school population estimates, do we really think the population is going up this year?
This is an old one.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna change this out for the new one.
All righty.
All right. Katie,
Yeah,
those are all the changes, or the parts have now all been reviewed.
I just wanted to say, I know there was notes on the housing. Rob made a bunch of notes that we just agreed to. But we should
Yeah.
go over that.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a Rob comment. To clarify that the echo generation is actually the millennial or echo boomer generation.
That actually was Andrew that wrote that. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Okay, boomer.
You say that to everybody here except for Rob, please.
Boomer.
Oh, this one, actually, Rob, we need to address. So Rob pointed out that there are two lines that are in direct conflict with each other in the housing section. The availability of variety. This is what was in it that he noted. Availability of a variety of housing options supports a diverse population and the changing demographic of smaller households seen in Bristol. Seems positive, except that it conflicts with Bristol's existing housing stock currently does not meet the housing needs of its population. So Rob pointed out that both of those cannot simultaneously be true.
Oops.
Well, wait a second.
The first one is
I don't know if the first one is intended to be that the availability of diverse is needed to support, but the way it's worded now, it's definitely
Okay.
conflicting the way.
Andrew, can you close your nav bar on the left just to give a little more real estate on the?
Yeah, and I can zoom in too. Thanks.
Thank you.
So this is basically, okay, I guess I just thought about it differently. Saying there is a variety of options. And the second, but maybe there's not enough of them in total. So that's sort of how I was thinking about it. That we do have a variety. Well, we have mostly single family, obviously, but we do have other options. So it's talking about types and then talking about quantity later, total quantity. So maybe that is not so
Okay.
clear. I guess it was clear to me, but do you see what I'm saying or not?
Yeah.
I don't think they're in conflict necessarily, but maybe the wording isn't clear enough.
Okay. So it maybe.
I keep trying to scroll it, but that's not my.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. It's fine. I forgot that it's.
I can actually probably bring that other sentence up just so folks can see them at the same time. So this was about housing needs and not meeting the housing needs of the population.
To me,
That's more of a quantity issue.
Hmm.
I mean, we do have a variety, but it's not there's not enough. There's not enough smaller houses. I mean,
Well, then, to me, that broad statement is a little too harsh.
that
Good.
one.
Yeah,
This one?
yes.
Okay, so we can tone that down. And
If you wanted to say there appears to be unsatisfied demand for smaller housing units, that seems to say what I think I heard you say.
right.
But don't we have a chart, or there is, what's the term? There is unoccupied housing in Bristol.
Right.
So
There's sort of it's a very small percentage, and and when it gets, this is coming from housing people and realtors, that when there's such a small amount that's open, it just, the demand is so much higher when the vacancy rate is really low. And the
Yeah.
vacancy rate is low. It has been for a while.
Make a comment here. Make a
competition.
comment here.
I was just gonna say, is Tom there? He ought to be the
Yeah.
expert on
Tom, you
this.
know, tell me, am I right?
Traditionally, at least in my experience over the past 20 years, rental housing in our area has always been quite low. Typically, anywhere around, we expect a vacancy rate of about 5%.
Right.
And around our area, it's more like 2 or 3%. And so in some places I've seen it got down even the 1 to 2%, but that's usually where somebody's moving out in the afternoon and somebody else is moving in the next morning. That's normally in the Burlington area, but around here, we've always had a pretty low vacancy rate, particularly for rentals. And currently, of course, the market varies widely over time, but currently it's a very active market, and our inventory of existing homes for sale is quite low. And think in the past week, checked, and for example, in Bristol, I think there was like 9 available homes for sale, which is quite low. So I don't know how you want to couch the phrase that you put in there, but obviously it changes over time pretty dramatically.
And what I've read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, is that that also bumps the price up when you have
Well,
low vacancy rate.
it does, and it raises, although I can't say that it's been dramatic as far as price increase is concerned because of the low numbers, but it's been reasonably steady in that regard. So I'm not going to say that there's been a large effect because of the low inventory or low rental availability. So it's kind of an odd circumstance.
Mhm.
Sounds like we need a housing study. Sorry. Somebody should put that in. Okay. So does anybody have suggestions on tweaking the wording? Bill, I heard you start to say a way of rephrasing this.
It probably would, it
Can I ask
wouldn't be,
Tom what you think about that sentence?
You
Again,
ask him.
What? I was
again,
going to ask you what you thought about that statement.
well, I guess you could probably say that that is an accurate statement because it's not meeting the housing needs of the population because there's more people who want to buy a house than there is available housing.
I know this is semantics, but the sentence is completely wrong just from the standpoint, your population has nothing to do with demand. The population, are there enough houses for all the people living in your town? So it's just a semantics piece. So you need to change the last word of that.
It's a little circular. That
It's way circular.
that there's not enough housing for the people that live here in housing.
do we have any homeless people?
I don't know because the number is, they have a number for the county, but I'm guessing we probably do.
Around here, there probably is, but they are a lot more discreet.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather capture Tom's idea by saying that in the current market, housing demand exceeds supply.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That sounds good.
Yes.
And that's both for purchase and rental, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we have more bears than we have homeless people.
More what?
We have more bears than we have homeless people.
Hopefully that's not related.
Maybe they're homeless.
The apples and oranges.
If the bears don't find a place for the winter, they'll be homeless too.
But they've got a lot of compost. They're psyched.
That they do. Yeah, they'll be well fed.
Okay,
All right.
that's good.
I think so. Folks all right with that? Simplifies it a bit. Takes out the circular sentence.
Yeah. Now, does that still sort of go against the original statement you had at the beginning?
No, I don't think. I mean, the statement in the beginning is basically talking about a variety of housing types. It's
Well,
discussing-
maybe if the word availability was taken out of that sentence,
Right.
because it does
Okay,
infer, you know,
I was going to say, I would start that off. There is a variety of housing options to support a diverse population.
or just a variety of housing.
A variety of
Does that
housing.
work? A variety of housing options supports.
Yeah.
Maybe do you want to change it to will support? I don't know.
Yeah. Or can support.
Yeah. That's it. That's putting some, favorable, we're leaning toward the variety part, saying it's not necessary. It's probably overthinking.
Right. So is that a yes or a no?
I like can't.
I'll go for can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, we can. All right.
I think that solves it.
Okay. Good problem solving, folks. It's a good thing we hit this slightly earlier in the evening while our brains are still working.
That's right.
All right, Katie, I think that puts us through everything that we talked about. I can send this. Well, I think our next steps would be to decide if we are approving it, and potentially any minor changes that come up at the open meeting,
Public meeting.
public meeting. I guess they're all open.
Well, we have to, yeah, and someone made a comment about the headers, which I agree. There needs to be more of a hierarchy. We need a better picture on the front.
I wasn't sure if this was the final format or not, but
No, I think we'll spend some time making it an easier to read format, but you were saying that a numbering system might be helpful?
or something, because as I started reading through this thing, I got really confused where I was. Not that that's hard.
Yeah, the hierarchy of the subheadings is not strong enough.
Yeah.
And some of the headers didn't match in the implementation table compared to what was called out in the section in the document.
Oh, okay.
Just slight wording things.
Yeah, so that I think we're really trying to focus on the content, but the format, the vertical format, we were going to keep. We were hoping to get a few more photographs in there, if anyone has any. Not tons, but there's a couple of spots. Rob doesn't want any photos.
I was going to ask who the we was.
That's me.
Well, if you don't contribute photos, that means that you only get ones that I've taken in my brief visits to Bristol. So
My only request, if you're going to do that, make sure that they're black and white, because when we print this, we do not have color capabilities in town. And color to black and white looks like crap when we hand them out.
okay.
So just to have a little bit of fun, every one of these sections has goals and policies until you get down to the environment, and then it calls out forest blocks and connectors in addition to goals and policies.
Yeah, that's probably just because I had highlighted it or highlighted as a heading. I can take that out just for consistency.
That's just like flagging NIMBYs all over the place.
It was fun, though.
All right, no more flagging NIMBYs.
Andrew, I had a couple other comments I had a question on.
Yep.
There were two comments in the housing also under needs and concerns that were at the end of the 4 different ones. I was just curious if anything was done with that.
That's fine to change that. We talked about that.
Okay.
But I guess not here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just curious so I knew what to expect to see.
I think
Yeah, it looks like they were changed.
Did you make them change? Did you make the changes already?
It appears to be, because it was at the end of the too large section and at the end of the accessibility.
Oh yeah, because
section.
it was just specific examples or policies that should have been in the policy section.
Yeah, it was things for solutions under needs and concerns, and they didn't all have solutions. So it was more of a either present solutions for everything or move these somewhere else. So
yeah. Yep, I took those out.
okay.
All right. Well,
Saving it.
anything else?
That's my question for you. Okay, we need a black and white picture of Bristol.
No. That's not the best photo, and that would really not look good in black and white, I don't think. We'll find something.
Okay,
Anyone can volunteer. Can, you know, send Andrew any great shots you might have.
Lloyd held his up. I think he
Oh,
said
I didn't see.
white. He says, it's a dark line. Look at that landscape.
It is black and white.
Oh, there you go. That's nice. Come to
shows
Bristol.
Shows up terrible in black and white.
Okay. But is that,
Did you take this picture, Andrew?
is this Johnson Land?
Yes.
Hard to say, really.
That's all right. Everybody goes up there.
I was there right 5 minutes before this meeting.
I think I
It's a
passed
nice-
Katie on the trail that day.
It's a nice view. Yeah.
Oh, that was the
And-
beginning of
And for those
pandemic.
of you interested in history, it was also Tom's grandfather or great-grandfather's land. Right, Tom?
That's right. My grandfather's land.
Ah. Oh, yeah. I was up there with Louise one time, and Louise Brinch pointed at everyone's land out to me. It was quite interesting.
It is a nice view.
Yeah, elementary school sits on my grandparents' apple orchard.
Ah, cool.
Oh. Like O'Hare Airport,
That's right. That's right.
in case you're passing through and wonder why it says ORD as the airport code on your ticket. It's because it was an orchard.
Oh, all right.
Just a little.
All right, onward. That's
Okay,
good
okay.
information, though.
Okay. What's next?
Okay.
Approve.
Okay, so the next thing would be, well, actually, we did have, do you want to talk about, we talked before about doing a, sort of our version of public outreach. And Andrew put together a couple of sort of poster size pieces that I was hoping to get a couple physical boards, 18 by 24 or 24 by 36 actually. One saying that. And then he did another one that showed kind of like a sample from a chapter. And we could maybe pick a couple other chapters to show a map or some sort of graphic, and just to kind of, try to generate a little interest. But having then on the first board, a link to the town website, a link to Addison County Regional Planning website that would have the plan.
For people that want to go read it. in its entirety.
Is that the actual date then, October 6th?
Well, if we agree to move this forward to a public hearing, that's when it would be.
Okay.
So just from a visual standpoint, this one that you're showing now is actually more conducive to, if I was walking by, I'd stop and read this. One with the map and boards, I don't care enough.
Well, they would
Right.
be together. They'd be together.
Yeah, I think our thought was part to draw people in and part if people wanted more info, but
So direct them to the information. If you're going to sell this, sell it here. Like, this is a great sales piece. The next one is just, if you want to do large posters, like we talked about putting in store windows, this is the kind of stuff you put there, but not out to try to draw people in to have them come to the meeting and get involved.
So neither of these posters tells people where they can see the,
No,
right, we've got to put the link.
this is his first.
That's because I didn't know
pass at it.
where it's going to be yet.
Well, some people would be interested in looking at the maps, I think. But there's no harm in having that. So, but I just need to, we want to pass this by and see if everyone's okay with it.
If there's ways we should tweak it.
So is the plan going to be 2020 or 2021?
Well, looks like it's going to be 2021, hopefully.
Yeah. All right,
Hopefully-
we can update
I
it.
mean, it's a minor point, but
Yeah, I think by the time because it'll be on the meeting day 2021, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's a good point.
Okay.
And so the thought is to put it on both the Bristol VT website and then potentially we can set it up on our website pretty easily also and just do either the whole thing or do it in sections. Just so as many people can find it as possible. But
so will it have hyperlinks in it?
The
yeah,
plan?
the thought was to do something basically with a link to the document itself and then a summary, probably just the goals and policies. Because otherwise it's too overwhelming to put all of it on a web page, but we would have basically a PDF of the whole thing and then separate sections.
I'm just wondering the value of separate sections if you got hyperlinks.
Oh, to take you directly to that part of the document?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. That saves us some work too.
And Andrew, were you able to convert the PDF to have hyperlinks as the select board requested?
I did it. And then I,
Did it.
for the subdivision? Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for the UDR?
Yeah. So I was gonna say, if it was easy to do that, would it make sense to do that with this one as well?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so I think when I convert it from a Word document to a PDF, at least the index, the table of contents becomes clickable.
Right.
Is there someplace else that would be helpful to have? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it does that automatically. Once we correct the.
Actually, Chris, I was talking to Valerie today about that. Do you know how to do that? To hyperlink it, the document?
Yeah.
Okay, no, because she hadn't done it, and anyways, she had put the one on the website that was not set up that way, but we'll get it fixed.
All right. So posters, website, Front Porch Forum, Katie.
Well, yeah, we can do that.
Put a really provocative title on it. Like
Lost cat.
dryer scent ball.
Dog poop in the park. Probably, and also if you push the info out to Valerie, she probably would post it out to the town's Facebook page as well.
Okay. Any other, we'll have a warning in the Addison Independent for all the people that, like our office manager, that read every single page of the Addison Independent.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
No, so the next thing we need to do is basically make a motion to,
I have a question about that. So there's a couple items still up in the air that we were talking about being put together and then sent out to us, about internet and one of the other things there. So if we move forward, it's not as this document sits now, it's to present the document to the
Correct.
public then. So we're not locked into anything at this point.
no, we're not locked into anything until it's approved. We're not approving the document as is now. We're making a motion to move it forward to a public hearing when we can approve it at that public hearing or not. So what Andrew will do is to make the edits, deal with the things we talked about tonight, and then we can get that out to people.
Tomorrow.
So I'd like to make a motion to move this to a public hearing on October 6th. Correct date?
Correct. And there's a memo that, like with the Unified Development Regs that goes along with it, did you share that?
I have not.
Well, I would wait and deal with this under discussion after. Let's finish your motion first and then have your discussion.
Because we basically,
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor, discussion? Well, there's a memo that goes along.
you want me to
And
pull that up?
the memo basically outlines the areas that we focused on in this update and refers to the sections. So it's because this plan will have to, like the Unified Development Regs, get sent to adjoining towns, get sent to other the other commission members, and I mean it's really just the Conservation Commission and the Energy Committee. So basically, it's an outline of what we've done.
Should,
So you're going to send an outline of the plan to,
No, it's not an outline of the plan. It's an outline of the changes, the
okay,
big
Yeah.
changes in the plan, similar to a memo that was made for the Unified Development Regs when that was went to a public hearing.
okay. So this is to the select board. Who else?
Adjoining towns,
Yeah,
and is that on there?
yep. Bristol Select Board, adjoining towns, Regional Planning Commission.
Okay.
okay. Got it. Okay,
So we just need to tie this memo into this motion.
Isn't this memo the result of this motion?
Not necessarily. This is new to me too. So I think so I guess if we make the motion and then we just acknowledge that this memo accompanies the plan.
My recommendation be, if you want the memo to be on record, just make a motion. Someone needs to make the motion to accept this memo as an accompanying document with the town plan.
Separate motion, or would we modify this motion?
Make a separate motion. It's cleaner.
Okay. So then,
Do we need to wait till we close this motion since we're in discussion?
Yep.
okay. So is there more discussion on this first motion? We're back to the original motion.
I'm so confused right now.
I think we just need to vote unless
Okay,
there's more
so
discussion about taking it to a public
Right.
hearing.
So no discussion and no further discussion. So all in favor of the motion?
all right.
Aye.
Okay. The motion passes to.
You should ask for opposed and abstained as well.
Okay. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstained?
I'm not a voting.
You don't get to vote.
I know. I can't even vote to abstain.
No. Okay.
But he got a mail-in ballot.
Yeah, I got one in the mail. I got two.
Okay, so the motion passes unanimously to move the updated town plan to.
We lost
hearing.
Bill Sayre somewhere along the way as well, so
Did we?
Oh no.
I don't see him here anyway, so
Hmm.
just so you're aware. He wasn't in on that,
Did he vote?
Probably not then.
no.
So do we have a quorum without him?
We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Yep.
So we have Lloyd, Jeff, Tom, Kevin, Rob, myself.
4, 5, 6,
and Bill Brown.
Sorry, we have a whole bunch of us here,
7. Okay, yeah.
and I appreciate that. So where are we? The motion has passed to move the plan to public hearing on October 6th.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the memo to go along with that to be sent out.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any
Can we, I'd like to, or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, any discussion?
I'd like
I have
to, I'd like to
question here.
amend I'd like to amend the motion to include the date of September 1st, 2020.
On the first motion or the date of this memo?
I would like to propose an amendment to this motion to
Okay.
include the date as dated September 1st, 2020.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
A question, is this I have to confess, I don't recall seeing this memo previously. Is this something we've seen before?
I thought you had been sent it. It is, we can certainly take time to read it. It's basically an outline, a description of the changes that we have, not in detail, but the general sections like we did with the Unified Development Regs. There was a memo that accompanied it that said, these are the major changes that were made in the document. So that's whoever's reviewing this that didn't work on it can kind of get a snapshot of what to look for.
I'm fine if it's just boilerplate then, that's okay.
Yeah, the major sections are the inclusion of enhanced energy plan, the new flood resilience and hazard section, the updates to the natural resources chapter to include forest blocks, and then updated goals and policies, implementation plan, and minor changes to the statistical information, bringing it up to date. So basically what we did over the last, let's say, 9 months.
It's fine, I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hang on. So you have an amendment, you have to vote on the amendment first. And then after that, if that passes, then you have a vote on the amended motion.
Okay.
All in favor of the amendment?
I'm lost now.
If it's amended, you vote on the amendment.
All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
No,
The amendment to the motion.
yes.
The amendment
amendment.
to the motion. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Ayes have it.
Okay, so now you need to vote on the original motion as amended.
Okay. All right, oh my God. So do we need to start from scratch, Chris, or?
So
we
No,
just
no,
vote
so
again?
you're going right along. You passed the amendment, so now all I have to do is call a vote on the motion as amended.
Assuming we've closed discussion,
I think I did that. All right, so all in favor of the amended motion?
To the amended motion.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstain? Oh, Tom, you're scratching your nose. Was that it?
It's like a bid. That's like at an auction. You got it.
Okay,
Dr. Eva.
because I'm not seeing everybody. So Lloyd, are you with us? You good?
I think so.
Okay,
I'm not sure we got everything in order, but yeah.
I guess we should have people, so are you in favor, Lloyd?
I would be in favor.
Excuse me?
I would be in favor.
Okay. All right, the motion passes then. Now we have to do the memo, correct?
So we did-
That was the memo. That
And I'm
was,
so confused now. It's too late and this is confusing because I can't see everybody, but I think we're good. Are we good?
We're
Sure.
good.
Let me stop sharing. Can you see everybody now?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. That's my fault for screen sharing and not turning it off.
Okay, so we're on for October 6th, it looks like. And now here's the easy motion to make. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
When's the next meeting?
So the next meeting would be in 2 weeks from today.
Okay, got it.
If we meet, that is our regular meeting.
Yeah,
So it seems like then, yeah, so we should take a look at what we have. And make sure we're good with all that. If people, we're gonna take care of the edits that we talked about. And if we can get those out before that meeting, which we should be able to do, then everyone can make sure that, this is the time to get everything in that you need to get in.
so this is the September 15th meeting, right? Not the 22nd.
It's the second, would be the third, yeah, it'd be the third Tuesday.
Yes, the 15th, 2 weeks from today.
Okay,
from today.
got it.
So then and then the next meeting after that would be the public hearing.
Yep.
So there's a little break there, a little extra week. Is there? It's an extra Tuesday. Okay.
Chris mentioned a housing thing. I don't know if that was for the end of this meeting or for the next, maybe that was just a future Airbnb something.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, that's future. If the plan passes, then we can just move forward to that when you start looking at zoning modifications in the
Okay.
future.
For some reason, I was thinking that was an upcoming meeting, but
No.
got it.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the hard work. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, guys.
Night.
Thanks for all your late evenings.